Good morning, happy Tuesday. And if you live in Ireland, I hope you had a lovely bank holiday weekend. I am coming on live this morning and I'm going to chat with Debra Kilby and her book, Rosa's Choice. A phenomenal lady, and I was so lucky to get to chat to her and to catch up with her yesterday. My name is Marie Nugent. My business is Time to Sparkle and Shine, where I help women go through challenging situations, allowing them to rise, to embrace who they are, to expand their consciousness, and to feel empowered after the situation. So let's see what's happening here. It says, hold on, okay, let's go. And invited Debra, so some sent a request to join. Yeah, this is always a bit go live with Debra. She's here. Yes, she is. She's here.
I made it.
I was having a moment. Well, actually, no, because it was like you invite me, I invite you, and then it's like, yes, we just connect together. So we do.
Oh gosh, yeah. My relationship with tech needs to be improved.
Happy Tuesday and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you. It's gorgeous. Always gorgeous to be with you.
Oh, listen. Well, there you go. Debra and I, God, how many years ago is it? You used to come over on retreats to Ireland with Hillary and Mags, yeah. And we met in Ordinary, which is Clonmacnoise. Most gorgeous spot, beautiful energy. It's got its own pyramids, each one energetically dedicated to a different energy. And it was absolutely fabulous. And that was the first time I had met you. And then it's like we've just kept, on the radar over the years. And I was so delighted that you've written a book, and it's called Rosa's Choice. And we're here to talk about that. Yes, we're here to talk about that today. And massive congratulations. It came out and was published on your birthday.
Yes, yeah, a couple of weeks ago on the 20th of May. So yeah, complete timing. It's not like I chose that date. That was the publisher's date. So that was, yeah, gorgeous. Yeah.
It was just like another acknowledgement, another synchronicity of this was meant to be, and this is what it was that you were meant to be doing. So we'll go back a bit because you are a channel, and you do, before you wrote your book, God, my brain, tell Spirit, where are you? So you do soul plans. So that's part of what it is that you do. You do soul plans. Can you explain a bit how you got into that to start with? What drew you into it, and what is it that people get when they come to you for the soul plans? We'll just do a little bit about that first before we go into your book.
Yeah, so I think it's all tied in, because it was my experience with Rosa and all, the three miscarriages, and then Rosa and releasing Rosa, that set me off on this, like, oh my gosh, is there something more going on? What's happening? All of that. There's a much bigger picture to what's going on. So it was through my experience with Rosa that was my own, like,
awakening moment. Yeah.
What's happening? And then to various synchronicities, as happens as soon as you open up and start asking that question, why, and what is going on? What is the bigger purpose? Is there meaning to this? Then everything starts to kind of flow into place. And I was just looking at, what can I do with this information? And I came across the Holistic Healing College website. So I started then studying holistic healing. And Blue Marsden, who founded Soul Plan, that was his course to his school. And I was just really drawn to Soul Plan. So I went to one of his talks and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. So I started doing Soul Plan. which is basically on the assumption that wherever we are before we decide to come in or are asked to come in, that we make that we have we have these choices that we want to experience. We experience all because we are everything. It's like we want to choose things on a more intense level. I want to experience that energy and that consciousness, and this is my purpose, this is my mission, this is what this is my why. Why am I here? I'm here for this. To find out more about ourselves, really. That's really the underlying thing. And so through the soul plan, it sort of opens up this channel. But when I started doing soul plan, I started being taken off and up into people's life before life experiences. So what was their motivation for coming into this world? What was their story? And I get to see it like a movie. So it's amazing. I get to see people's movies of life before life. And what is it that's motivated to come in? What's their purpose? So it's really like, yeah, it's just amazing world to be in. And I started channeling I started then opening up all my channeling. And I didn't know that was, it's just a process. It's an unfolding thing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And then the next thing happens, and it's just like that.
Yeah. Because life is like that. I think when you're following your intuition, the fact of we're looking for something and the teacher appeared, and then that course gave you more insights and understanding, and it also allowed you to hone your skills to a certain extent, so that you became stronger. And I think a lot of the time when you do channel, a lot of the time when you start with, you don't actually have faith in yourself and your abilities, because you go and you say, this is all my imagination. And then it's a lot of it is working with the self-doubt to allow yourself to expand and to feel that the message that you're getting are actually relevant, and that they are and that they are actually messages, that it's not your imagination.
Yeah, it's a real leap of faith, and it took a few years. Luckily I had friends like Hillary that I used to say, this is the message that's come through from source, or and read it over, have a sense check, and it's that questioning, am I making this up? And certainly people's soul plans, but it was the soul plans that was channeling their messages, and I didn't know who they were. I hadn't met them before, but I would channel their message, and I would think, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? And then it was so relevant to them that eventually I had to start. I got tired of not believing in myself, and tired of it's kind of exhausting all the time. So it was just, it's just that process of self-doubt, trusting, having people around you to go, no, this is, because it's not my language, it's not the words I would use. It's not, I would know, if I was that clever to know this stuff, just because I know it would be amazing. But it's not, it's all coming from another place. It's all coming from within, coming from another.
Yeah. So and I think that's the thing about it. Sometimes if you feel that you're an interpreter, that maybe you feel you're interpreting it wrong, or because it's not actually the language that you would use. So a lot of it is trusting that what it is that you're hearing, and your ability as that interpreter, that just to say it as it is, say it as you see it,
because we can't get in our own way, so it's always really important to just say, right, I'm moving myself out the way so I can receive this message, like for that whoever, for whichever person or whichever message I'm coming through, so I'm not in the way. So if I get in the way, and my mind, really, is that true? How can that, so you're just calming the mind down and saying, okay, I'm just going to allow whatever I'm seeing, hearing, feeling, and going with that, following that intuition.
It's interesting you say that. Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because when I was looking for phrases, about the way that I work, and you were saying it's like calm the mind, connect to spirit, soothe the body, and free the soul. And they were the 4 sentences. I get goosebumps now. I said that that I wanted to embody with the people that I was working with, and to connect on that level, because I do believe there's a gravitational pull that draws us together and draws you to the person that you need to go to hear what it is that you need to hear, and if you follow that, it won't steer you wrong.
No, I can't. No, it really doesn't. It's like it still blows my mind, but it shouldn't be exciting all the time. It is amazing. And I love saying, you know, we are all a very precious piece of each other's puzzle. So
That's a beautiful way of saying it.
hold that for somebody else, and we all one way or another find each other and find the message, the information, the whatever it is that we're needing. We all hold that for somebody else, and somebody else holds that for us. I think it's beautiful.
And it brings in a beautiful, warm, supportive, nurturing experience rather than, you know, the opposite. So we'll get on to Rosa. It's time for her to come in and have her say now. So it is.
Yeah.
So when you, Rosa, she lived for about 16 weeks, thereabouts. And because I was talking to you about this before, and at what stage then did she start to come through to you? I know you felt that you were going to others initially to see if you could communicate, or if they could communicate with her for you. But at what stage then, after, you know, Rosa's sojourn here, did she start coming in for you, or, you know, when did you decide then that it was?
So it was 16 weeks in the womb, just to make that clear. So it was this, you know, because she had genetic complications, so it was a choice that had to be made, and that's why the book's called Rosa's Choice, because I then realized it was her choice. You know, it took quite a few years, because there was a lot of healing that needed to happen, and a lot of learning, and as I was saying, I was studying and building confidence and channeling, and I kept going to meetings. So when the idea of the book came through, and it was Rosa that just said, we're going to write a book, and she showed me this front cover, so this is her image that she showed me. And I was going to meet him saying, I know Rosa's going to write her side of the story, but I need someone to help me do that, like, because I can't channel her. And they all kept saying, my guides are saying she's too high vibration, I can't reach her, so it will have to be through my guides. And then one morning I was just sat on the couch at home and saying, do you know what? I'm channeling soul plans. Why not see if I can communicate with Rosa? And then instantly she was there, and it was like, whoa, it was this amazing message that came through. So it was a good five years after.
Okay.
5 or 6 years.
And so how often did you connect then after that? Like, I mean, I can imagine once you sort of, like, say, all the questions that you would have lined up to ask for her and her life and her experiences, and what, you know, why she decided on this, and, you know, there must have been quite a lot of great chats, I could imagine, between the two of you.
There was some amazing stuff, but, you know, it's that fear as well, like, oh my gosh. So after the first time it happened, I don't think I then went and communicated with her again, because you think, oh, you know, it's kind of a bit like, oh, so it's not like suddenly I was doing this, because it was that, you know, looking at my own fears around it, and is this true, and is this true, and really having to check in on myself a lot. But once the idea for the book was really set, like, okay, I really know I'm doing this now. What questions do I have that I would love to be answered? Why did this happen? Why miscarriage? Why are babies choosing not to say? And then all the questions from my clients as well. So I would then ask her that. And then sometimes I would just ask her, so what do you want me to know today? And those are the moments where those bigger messages came in, around the universe and the divine child, and all of the bigger collective messages came in as well. So I wasn't trying to control the message, saying, what do you want us to know? What do you want to share with me today? So we had some amazing conversations, and some that I really struggled with, because it was like, I can't share that. I can't say. It was fun. It was like a complete journey in itself. Understanding
when your beliefs and understandings are challenged, then it can be you can sort of go, no, I don't want to say that, and it's almost like you have to let it land with yourself, so that you can process it, and then before you can talk about it. So you put your book into three parts. So we'll start with the first part, and what was that part all about then?
So part one is really the book I thought I was writing, which is all about the journey to motherhood. So that is why babies are choosing not to, or waiting to come in. So what they're the reasons why they might be holding back on coming in, what the gift is in that. And I know it absolutely doesn't feel like a gift when you're waiting, but what are they showing you? How can we what are they showing, you know, all the emotions that come up from when we're struggling to conceive is that's what is meant to come up, and it's not pleasant, and I totally get that, but it's a real shifting all your traumas and your beliefs and your memories. So they are asking you to rise up to meet them, so they can come in, rather than, why aren't you coming in, like me, and all of all the stuff that we're holding on to, that our journey to motherhood brings up. It also looks at why they choose not to stay. So their choice, you know, and I think that's the real big message for women, is that you're not alone in this. We can feel like a failure, it's all our fault, why this, and actually you're in this really beautiful dance with your baby, and they have their choices too. And yeah, it's really understanding each other and being together in all of that's happening.
Yeah. And is there something that's just come down? So if your life is stressed or whatever, and you know, you have a soul contract with this baby that's coming in, will that be delayed to the right, until you're in the right space and they're in the right space, or what do you believe happens in those sort of situations? Because a lot of women are overworking themselves now. You know, they're doing so many jobs, and they want to be successful at what it is they do, and then they would say, well, we're going to have a baby now, and it just doesn't happen that way, you know, that there is the delay. So how do you view that, you know, if somebody comes to you?
Yeah, I just think that really puts the onus on the woman of going into that, it's my fault, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and that's not the message at all from the babies. They're not saying, until you sort yourself out, you know, that's a real, it's actually totally the opposite of that. And we know the babies are born in really stressful situations, in conflict situations, in really terrible situations. So babies come in when they're coming in, like they have total choice of when they arrive. So you know, you can definitely get, if the baby's coming in and you're stressed, it will, I just think that's what we're told. And it's, you know, oh, it's, you have to eat the right foods, and you have to do this, and you have to be the right age. No, none of that. Belief. None of that is happening, I believe. So what I see, and as the babies are showing me, is that they are a very different, for anyone's into, they're very different vibes. So what they're doing is they've got their own choice and their own timing. You know, they're seriously got their own timing. But also with the mums, they always see for their mum is love. They've chosen their mum. They've chosen their in whichever way they're coming.
The family, the situation, the siblings, whatever. Yeah.
And what they want is their mums to see themselves as love. So through a more challenging journey to motherhood, you start to look at, well, maybe I could love myself more by tweaking the amount of doing I'm doing, and the amount of stress I'm under, or the pressure, or the people pleasing. So really it's about going really within. And it's totally the opposite of what we say, I'm not getting pregnant because blah, 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 I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too da. It's nothing to do with that. It's about the opposite, that you are so much more than all of those things you are telling yourself, that it's time to move out and up, release the traumas and the beliefs that are creating those patterns. So you love so you see yourself as your baby see you, which is just incredible, amazing, light, love, portals of creation.
Wow, and I think that, you know, all of these, got a real sense of deja vu there. We've had this conversation before, but I think, you know, the beauty of what it is that you're, you know, for you, Deborah, what it is, the stories, not the stories, but the information that you're giving out to women is a huge amount of relaxing and into the process of loving who you are, because we've never been taught that. It's always been about conditional, you know, self-sacrifice, and because that one thing is, you know, it's the big thing. It's like, oh, she's, you know, our mum, she sacrificed everything so that we could. And we're coming out of that. You know, we have to come out of that, because we'll be keeping womanhood trapped forever and ever if we stay there. So part of it is, about the whole thing about the acknowledging our right to be seen as mothers, our right to be seen as women, and to be heard, to be acknowledged, to be respected for who we are as women. And part of the challenge is for us as women is actually, what does it mean to be a woman? What does it actually, the empathy, the understanding, all the things that would have been snuffed, sneered at, before, because, oh, she's emotional, or she's this, or she's that, but they're actually our gifts that, that we can harness and use, to change the world. And that's part of, what it is that you've been talking about, and what it is that we're here to do. So the first part of the book then was the book that you thought you were going to write. And then it changed.
Sorry.
And no, it's all right. And the second part then came in, which was, what did that evolve to be?
So that was all really about the collective. I just wanted to go on about this. I just wanted to mention about the sacrifice first. So,
okay.
a lot of women, oh, I sacrificed this for my child and this for my child. And actually what is happening is that your children are sacrificing themselves for you, which means we sacrificed who we were for our mums and dads, our parents' patterns and conditioning. So so it's kind of turning it around on its head, because you have to
say that again. The parents are sacrificing so the children are sacrificing the lives that they could lead, to fulfill the dreams of their parents.
Yes, exactly, and to fit into the patterns and programs of the parents, because we're all bringing this conditioning and this way that we grew up and our own traumas, and mostly unconsciously we're just putting that out there to our children, and the children, well, I can't do that because that doesn't fit in with my favorite carer, that I need these people to like me, so I need to fit in with them. So it's the children that are sacrificing themselves for the wounds of the mother, and again, that's not a blame on the mother, that's going back to patriarchy and women, as you've been saying, losing their sense of self because of the humiliation, trauma, shame that's been put on women. So the more that we heal our own wounds and traumas, the babies coming in, the babies here, the children here will be more free. And that's Rosa's message and vision, is imagine a world where all the children are free to be them, without having to please or be liked or have to fit in with somebody else's patterns and conditioning. They are just purely them. So yeah, that was I just wanted to mention that, because it was a really big insight for me when I was writing the book, that, oh my gosh, that's so it with the children are,
yeah. And I think, because you and I have talked before, it's like I have this firm belief that empowered women, and particularly empowered mothers, women that have done work on themselves, that have seen and acknowledged and respect themselves, are hugely powerful role models, and role models for the children that they bring into the world, because they're already coming from it. They're already looking at their world from a different perspective, and we need more women to do that. Because the world is so much bigger than we make it, than we make it, because we make it quite small.
Yeah.
So part two then.
So part two. So the first part is very much about the individual and your individual journey to motherhood, and why you're, all about the babies and the spirit baby realm and your journey with them. And that was the book I thought I was going to write. Then the second was, well, how does that? Because everything we do has an effect on something else, and we're part of a collective. So the second part is very much around the collective, and how when we heal, it really the effects spread far and wide throughout our own family members and friends. When we feel better and when we're sharing this trauma out, or then everyone around us. So I went into the collective, and I was asking, the divine feminine energy is very much talked about, and since 2012 is real shift in the energy coming up. So I was asking, what is the divine feminine? What is the divine masculine? Who is the divine child? It's very much about power, and where that, what's going on with power. the energy of lust, the energy of greed. Yeah, so there's all sorts in the second book. War. Yeah, so it just life and death. All of those messages come through.
They're quite broad, so that you know.
It's like about all aspects of life that we experience, and what's the higher perspective of that. So what's, from Rosa's point of view, what is going on with power? What is going on? Why is there greed and lack? And what, you know, how can we have a different vision? How can we move out of that? So yeah, that's the second part of the book, which is.
Yeah, and because we've talked about it before, because you know, in Ireland we would have a very much a culture of shame in pregnancy. You know, unmarried mothers, and you know, historically that's just the way things are. That's the, you know, culturally, from the religious point of view and from the country's point of view, part of their evolution of soul that the country is going through. But we would have had this shame of women that had to go to the UK, you know, to have abortions, and you know, you and I spoke about this, because can you just give it Rosa's insight to what happens in those situations for those souls that choose to go on this journey together? Because it is a choice, you know, between the mother and the baby, regardless of decisions beforehand, that this is, you know, this is something that they have maybe contractually decided that this is something that they're going to, a challenge that they're going to face together. So from your point of view, from Rosa's channeling and her sense of what happens, what does she say about things like that?
Yeah, she has a lot to say about that, and it really does flip on its head all of the beliefs that we have, because, you know, having been through that experience myself and the trauma that comes, you know, yes, it is a choice, and it's that, well, you chose it, so you can't, you know, why are you emotional about, you know, it's this, and this real judgment. And we can see how it's kind of going backwards. There's a lot of states in America that are now banning terminations from 6 weeks. You don't even know you're pregnant. That's as if the man is not involved. It's like, it's all the onus on the women. Anyway, so all of that aside, with the babies, I would say, on the whole, I haven't met a baby who has not been involved in that choice. A spirit baby, I mean, has not been involved in that choice. And I've got a whole message on my blog actually about termination. I'm just trying to remember what it was. But it was the shame is man-made, literally man-made. It's trauma. It's trauma from that. And what the babies say is, you cannot terminate us. We are energy. We cannot be terminated. It's not in your power to terminate. We're just born, we're just birthed somewhere else. They're birthed where they want to be birthed. But for the woman going through this experience is so deep, so huge. And it's the bravest, most courageous women who go through this experience, because they are really challenging themselves to go deep into those beliefs of, thou shalt not kill, thou, you know, choice. Oh my God, do I have a choice? And the cultural restrictions around that. It's really about controlling women's bodies. Who has control over your choice, and who has control over your body? And we have to come, the women who go through this experience are really reclaiming that sense of, okay, it's my choice. You've got no one else has got any right to say anything about your choice.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of losing my words a bit, but there's, yeah, on my blog, and in the book, there's a message about termination. But your babies know what is happening. They know what your choice is very likely to be.
Yeah.
And what it does terminate is old beliefs, old patterns. It brings up shame. It brings up guilt. It brings up those things that don't come from that experience, but are already there from this lifetime and many lifetimes before, and not only for yourself, but for women as a whole. So the healing that comes when you find resolution and peace with your experience of, you know, of release, as Rosa calls it, the spirit babies say, release. You release us. You don't terminate us. You release us into where we want to be. They're coming in to really help you dig deep into that shame, guilt, and sense of ownership of your body and your choice. Yeah, it's a really massive. So it's a very courageous, intense experience, and I'm not saying it's easy one to move through,
No.
but when you do, it's yeah, you really get a sense of your ownership of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an awful pit. I think that's part of the reason why, Rosa's Choice is coming out at this stage. It's because it's time now for women to, to gain that ability to let go of, and shame is a big thing. Something that I come across, you know, unconsciously, behind a lot of things that people are ashamed of their feelings, they're ashamed of their thoughts, and we don't need that. It is literally holding us back. So
Control.
yeah, but we wouldn't be here doing this if after say 2,000 years or probably more culturally of where women have been put into boxes and living in a patriarchal society, and we've discussed this before as well. It's like we are coming into a time of balanced divine masculine and divine feminine, and a lot of it is the women discovering what it is, the power to be a woman, but also for the man in balance, and for the man also to discover what it is to be patriarchal without dominance and control, and all of that sort of thing, my way or the highway. And we see it in the language in some of the that's used in with some of the leaders, and how that's changing. And it starts from us. It starts from us and goes out. Which is truly amazing. And because when babies are ready to come down, 'cause I was watching the Soul, that film recently, the Disney one, where they were like literally going out and diving over the edge and going down and picking to whoever it is that they were going to, and the significance of the country you go to, the family you go to, and all of that. So, from Rosa's point of view, like, what did she say? What was her vision of because she's been there probably several times. Well, we have as well, we just can't remember. But for her, because she's our conduit to an insight into what happens before the babies come in.
Yeah, so she's not in the spirit baby realm, but she works. She's like a teacher, I guess, in that realm.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So what she was showing me was this incredible, and whenever we're channeling or showing things, it's always through our own filter of what we can understand. So it was like a town where there was all these souls practicing their gifts, whether that's surgeons or creatives, or so you're practicing you're kind of practicing your gifts, you're really fine-tuning your gifts, whatever they might be, in this place. And then
that's fascinating.
Yeah,
so it's almost like you've already decided your job, before that everything is leading you in this direction.
Yeah, totally. And then she took me through this town into the green fields, and then she was saying this is where babies who choose not to stay, they come and rest, they come and play, and it's just this beauty. I mean, spirit animals are everywhere, pets are everywhere in this realm. All I could see was loads of animals with these kids and joy and playing and just this real rest and recuperation. And then I was shown that when you're ready, you then go into this next phase, if you like. And it was like only because I could understand it in like a school thing, but it's obviously not a school thing. But then you go into when you're really thinking about coming in, and you start meeting all those souls, or calling in all those souls that you're going to meet and what you're going to do, and you're going to use your parents and everything. But what I was shown, which was really like just, oh, I love it, was that it's like a massive telescope, if you like, that you're looking down at Earth going, where do I want to be born? Location was really key, like, where do I want to be? Not only the country, but is it a city, is it a town? What kind of family? What kind of wealth? What kind of, or do I want to experience this kind of, everything you are choosing. And then when you are ready, and you don't have to go there, then you haven't, that's like, oh, well, maybe I'm not ready to go yet. I'll just head back to the green field.
I'll go back over and play, go back over and play with the dogs.
Yeah, well, those who are ready, they... it is kind of like soul and a meditation that I've channeled and recorded as part of I'm part of a mother heart organization, and it was a meditation for them, and that's what it was like, this spiraling down of you're kind of just diving in through this portal, and when conception happens, I think is a beautiful mystery, because I've seen conception within an embryo that's about to, you know, before it's implanted, or I've seen it
Yeah.
happen whilst it's already there, or before the baby's even born. I've seen, you know, so yeah, but yeah, we kind of dive in, walk through a
And
portal.
why not? Yeah.
That's our way of understanding it anyway, for our minds to
Yeah.
understand it. I'm sure
I
it's much
would,
more than that.
yeah. Through our
Um,
filter of reality. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in the book,
Um,
there's
yeah.
one of my she had a very conscious conception and was describing the energy of when she knew she conceived, and it's in the book, of this spiral, just colors, and you know how energy becomes born into a body. It's really
I
special.
just got the whole thing of the DNA strands.
Oh
You know,
well, yeah.
it's sort of like that coming in, as in that's sort of like the portal they were coming down. That's just the visual that I got when you were speaking about that, you know, the strands coming down, and saying, oh my God, it's the DNA strands. And I got goosebumps.
We've
It,
forgotten that
it's,
magic of it, you know. Oh, it's a physical
yeah,
thing, but no, there's so much magic and mystery and incredible amounts of things that need to happen
yeah.
before, and we need to remember that magic and how powerful women are to enable that to happen.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, that's why we're here. You know, that's why we're having conversations like this, because it's an expanding consciousness that more people are waiting to hear, and to know. And for me, it just makes so much more sense than, you know, the judgment that we live in now. And we spoke about, you know, Brian Weiss's The Many Lives, Many Masters. And I've, you know, for people that have gone through loss, I've recommended that book, and it's been hugely comforting for them to know that, you know, that we're not gone. You know, they're not gone. And I think it would have helped. It helped me because my dad died of cancer 12 years ago. And I remember going through that journey with him, you know, accompanying him, you know, on a physical level, and grieving with him. But I definitely think that whole knowledge of that really helped me, you know, to see at what he was transitioning to was so much bigger and better. And I could always, I sensed the challenges that he had put out for himself along the way, some that I had inherited as well, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So it makes life very, very fascinating. So it does. And then when you went on to, so in covering all of that, and the souls, and I totally get the whole picking. I definitely, because I've traveled to a few countries all over the world, and I definitely feel that here in Ireland is where I'm meant to be. I think sensing the power and the magic, and the fact that it's reawakening again, you know, and I mean, you've been to Ordinary and over to Ishna and places like that, just the energy, and it's almost like unclaimed, because nobody knew about it, and then before you know it, like there's more and more people being drawn in. It's like the beacons are going out, the energy is, the pulse has been sent out. And the same way as, you know, for us connecting with each other, you know, the women that are doing this sort of work, that pulse is going out as well. It's like, yeah, that's where you become the beacons, you and Rosa. And then when you went on to the last part then, Deborah, what was it that made a third part in your book that you knew you weren't finished? What was it that you know, that's a, but wait, there's more.
I know, and this was I was so I had some time. I used to, you know, take a couple of days. My husband Lee is so supportive. He just would take the boys off and just say, okay, you know, you have your time to do things. So I thought, right, I've got 2 days to channel all these messages and see what happens. And I just said to Rosa one day, so what do you want to share today? And she said, sit down, empty your mind. I'm going to tell you the story of the universe. I'm like, okay. And it was just, and she said, like a fiction, just keep going, just you know, however much your mind is saying, screaming to stop, just keep going.
Yeah.
So she was explaining how the universe, like just the creation of the universe, and then about creation and how creation happens, and what else was, yeah. So then I just thought, oh my gosh, this is massive, and proper tantrum, and I was like, I'm not the person to start talking about the creation of the universe. What's going on? This is a book about babies and life. And she said, no, it's a book about creation. So you have to go, and she said, you have to go to the root. In order to understand what's happening now, you have to go to the root. And the root, of course, is the very beginning of time.
The creation time,
Or whatever, the explosion of light, or however you want to see it. So 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 the third bit is all about creation, about biodiversity. There's some things about galactics, because we're all part of the universe, not just part of there's lots of messages from the earth. So this is what I love about the third part, because I'm channeling the energies of the earth. So all, we always go, imagine that our information is all inside us, but we kind of go up to source. Everything is held in the earth. So the water is consciousness. It holds so much memory from the dinosaurs. Let's say we're drinking the same water as the dinosaurs, but it holds so much memory and so much around water, the earth, and what the earth is holding on to. So there's lots of messages from the earth, and how we can connect in with the earth, and that they're calling for us to connect in. Every flower, every tree, we can communicate with their beings, their energetic beings, and they're they're with us. And so that's what the third part is about, is about Mother Earth, which is when I got the idea this is about creating a new earth, because it's about remembering that connection we have to the earth and every being on the earth, and how we're all interconnected. So that's the third part. I just stopped writing for a year after that, because I thought, no, I'm not ready for
that. It reminds me of, had you read any of Dolores Cannon's books?
I've heard of her, but no, I haven't. Do you know what?
Oh my God, and I think this is sort of like, so she is an independent but not collaboration, but an independent, when you say that she, a lot of the stuff that you are talking about, she spoke about as well, and about souls coming in, and some of the stuff that she wrote, I can honestly say, challenged me in my belief system, but it also pushed you out into awareness of that there's so much more than the world that we live in, but because we tend to be stuck in the 3D, that you don't see the magic when you're there, so it's like changing the frequency. But you would enjoy some of her books, so you would. And so what was the biggest thing for you on the third part then? What was the thing that sort of like blew your mind the most and said, actually, this is beyond comprehension? Like, was there one specific thing that you sort of said, I can't, I don't believe this, until you let it settle, and whether, when it settled in, did it begin to feel right and say, oh, well, okay, maybe, Was there one thing?
So definitely the whole stuff about the universe. But I think what really really triggered me, actually, and kind of brought on that tantrum of like, what are you asking me to do here? It was around IVF. Now, I've written about IVF in part 1 because it's one way that the babies come in, of course. But there was another further deeper message around IVF that I put into the third part, because it's very much around creation. And the message basically is IVF. We're not looking at why IVF is needed. It's because there's an imbalance in creation, and the medical has a very masculine energy, and it's about effectively it's like we need permission for the masculine to become pregnant. And I hope anyone watching kind of understands where I'm coming from with that. But it's like the bigger picture of IVF is it's circumnavigating the reason why there's a need for IVF in the first place, because there's an imbalance between the masculine and the feminine. There's an imbalance between the energies of creation. And what Rosa said about that was, utilize the genius of science, but always know this is you, and you do the power of you that brings your baby in. It's you become pregnant, but you become pregnant because of you. Not because of the science, but utilize the science and the genius of the science if that's what you need.
It's a means to an end, really. Yeah.
You don't hand your power away to the medical, to the science. And you know, I thought that, I mean, that's such a big message. It's such a bigger message in the book than I've said there. But really, it made so much sense. Like, oh, of course, why are we needing all this stuff? Because with the balance of power, the balance of creation is out. So, you know, science has kind of stepped in to fill that. We're not looking at the root cause of why there is difficulties in conceiving.
Okay. Yeah.
That, I thought, well, I had to do a lot of
soul searching. Yeah. So your first book is done.
Yeah.
Is Rosa still? Is she still around?
Yes,
obviously still around.
Yeah.
Does she have another book for you to write? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. She's definitely still around because there's a lot of because now what I feel is, if you is that I said on the launch, I never imagined Rose would be birthed in this way, in her energy birthed into the world in this way through the form of the book. So now I think it's about implementing or looking at how we can bring that vision, because she really offers a vision of how we live our lives, and you know, what's happening if we can see the bigger picture of things. So I think it's about how we might implement, like, what's that energy in the world doing, what's it shifting, what's it changing. But in terms of another, so she's very much around, and always is coming into my sessions, and sometimes into Ivy, you know, into people's medical. She's there with them whilst they're having their fertility treatments and all sorts. It's amazing. So as far as another book goes, I'm not sure. I feel like there is, but who knows what that might be yet.
That also has to be waited to be birthed. So it does. It has to be conceived first, and then grow and birthed.
Yeah.
And I think probably the process will be a little bit easier this time, because of the fact that you know, you've already done the prep work, you know, from an emotional point of view, and you're learning to trust yourself more, because, you know, the years that it took for you to actually put it down and then put it together, and then getting that was a whole process in itself. So Debra, if somebody wants to work with you, how do they get in contact with you if they're interested in getting a soul plan? And where can they find, and that's the first thing, and then where can they find out about Rosa's Choice, and how can they, you know, how can they order that? You know, so if we do, how can they contact you first?
So you can find me on Instagram at Debra Kilby Healing, or Facebook on Debra Kilby Healing, or my website is debrakilby.com. And then you can look at all the soul plan stuff and all the sacred conception and baby loss and you know, all the programs that I offer. I run a couple of courses. I'm not running them right now, but you know, I wait for the call for them to run, so just ask me about them. So yeah, find me in all those different places. And Rosa's Choice you can also buy on my website. If you want a signed copy, I think there's about 100 left that I'm able to sign. So this is good. There's only 100 left that I can sign. So if you want a signed one, then order one on my website. Otherwise, you can get it on all the usual booksellers, Amazon, and another online book sellers as well.
That's absolutely fantastic. Debra, it was an absolute pleasure. I could literally, this sort of stuff always fascinated me, and to find somebody else that's of a kindred spirit that you can have a chat with, you could just go on for hours of questioning and answering and, you know, brainstorming, and just to see what would come up. The whole thing is just amazing and magical, as are you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much.
And I will talk to you. I will talk to you again soon. I'll talk to you about, because I would definitely want to order your book. I know you read out pages at your launch, and they really bowled me over. You know, the power of the words that were spoken or were written bowled me over. So I'm definitely, Rosa's Choice is going to be, I'll be contacting you to get a copy, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. And the very best of luck. Love you lots.
Thank you so much, Marie. Take care. Lots of love.
Bye. Bye,
Thank
Deborah.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
And next week, I'm going to talk to Melanie Appleby, and her thing is learning through animals. And before you go, Deborah, actually, I just love the whole thing. I have 2 dogs, and the whole thing of, you know, spirit animals being up there with the babies, it actually brought tears to my eyes, because I was going, oh my God, my boys are up there too, you know.
It was so obvious, so noticeable, all the animals, but spirit
Yeah.
animals as well as pets, animals.
Pet
And
animals,
just the joy. It really made me feel how important pets are here for us on the earth.
Yeah.
Because we have such a connection with them
Unconditional
before we're
love.
alive.
Yeah, totally. Bye, Deborah.
Thank
See everybody next
you.
week. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye. Bye.